What if that rusty old penny you used to play with as a kid is now worth thousands? No joke, one 1940 wheat penny just bought a man a motorcycle. And he found it in his late father's tool shed. Let me take you back to a summer in 1983. A man named Harold, a retired railroad worker from Ohio, was cleaning out his father's old tackle box. Among fish hooks and faded photos, he found a handful of wheat pennies. One caught his eye. It was darker, heavier, and oddly beautiful, that penny. A 1940s wheat penny. He kept it for sentimental reasons, reminded him of collecting coins with his dad on Sunday afternoons. Years later, his grandson took it to a coin show, and jaws dropped. That tiny token from the past? Worth over $2,000 because of a rare die error and a perfect strike. The 1940 wheat penny might look ordinary, but it holds secrets. Here's what makes certain 1940 wheat pennies valuable. It was minted during wartime, just before metals were being rationed. The San Francisco S and Denver D mint marks produced fewer coins with exceptional quality. Rare errors, like off-center strikes or double dies, make some 1940 pennies ultra-valuable. High-grade uncirculated versions, the kind found in forgotten jars or carefully kept collections, are prized by collectors. It's not just the coin, it's the condition, the history, and the mint that matter. There's a story that still breaks my heart. A woman from Kansas called me in tears. Her husband had passed, and she remembered he used to collect coins in a mason jar. She gave it to a neighbor's kid to play store. Weeks later, she learned one of those pennies, a 1940 D with a double die, sold online $4 for $600. I just thought it was junk, she said. Don't let a piece of your family's history, or future, slip away. Want to know if you might have one of these gems? Here's what to check. Date must be 1940, flip it, look carefully. Look for the mint mark, under the date, flip it over, check for strong wheat stalks and know where bonus signs of rarity, doubled letters in Liberty or In God We Trust, off-center images extremely shiny or uncirculated condition. Think you found a winner, get it professionally graded. It can mean the difference between $1 and $5,000. Contact PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. Most local coin shops can give you a free first opinion. What if a single penny from your childhood, maybe even one sitting in your kitchen drawer right now, could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars today? Don't look away. Because today, we're talking about the 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny, a simple copper coin that might just change the way you see your spare change, forever. Picture this, it's 1987. A retired railroad worker named Harold is cleaning out his late father's attic in rural Pennsylvania. He finds an old mason jar filled with wheat pennies, dusty, forgotten, untouched since the 1950s. He dumps them onto the table, and one coin catches his eye, a 1941 wheat penny, darkened with time but sharp in detail. No mint mark. Years later, his grandson takes it to a coin show, and is told it's worth hundreds. Why? That coin, that unassuming relic from a simpler time, was part of a rare batch, a batch that should have been lost to history. Now let's break down the truth behind the 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny. 1941 was a turbulent year. The U.S. hadn't yet entered World War II, but tensions were high. That year, the Philadelphia Mint, which doesn't use a mint mark, produced over 684 million wheat pennies. So what makes this coin special? It's not just the lack of a mint mark, that's normal for Philadelphia coins. The value comes from condition, die errors, and something called a double die, where the letters or dates appear doubled due to a minting mishap. Some rare 1941 pennies were struck with steel planchets left over from experimental wartime materials, making them even rarer. It's a coin with stories pressed into its copper skin. And if yours has the right traits, it could be a treasure hiding in plain sight. Sadly, most people don't know what they have until it's too late, like Martha, a kind woman from Ohio who once mailed her entire penny collection to a bank during a move. Among them, a near-mint 1941 double-die penny now valued at over $1,200. She only found out when she saw one just like it on TV, Too late. So please, don't assume it's just another penny. Here's what you need to check right now. Date must be 1941. No mint mark below the date, means it was made in Philadelphia. Check for doubling on the words, liberty, and, in God we trust. Try a magnet. If it sticks, you might have a rare steel planchet. Error. Flip it over. Clear. Crisp wheat stalks increase the value. If you think you found one, don't clean it. That can destroy its value. Instead, send it to a trusted grader like PCGS or NGC, or bring it to a certified coin dealer near you. They'll help confirm if your penny is the real deal. You know that old jar of coins in the kitchen? Or the one in your late father's garage? Go check. That one penny, the one your grandchild handed you without thinking, might just be the most valuable piece of your past. What if a single penny from your childhood, lost in an old coffee can or tucked in your father's desk drawer, could be worth thousands today? Not just any penny. I'm talking about the mysterious 1942 no mint mark wheat penny, a coin that might look ordinary, but carries a value and story far beyond its copper shell. Let me take you back to 1967, a small town in Ohio. An elderly gentleman, a World War II veteran, was going through his late wife's belongings. Tucked inside a dusty mason jar of old coins was a simple 1942 wheat penny. No mint mark. Nothing flashy. He kept it, not for its value, but for the memories. She used to save pennies from the war years, just in case. She'd say, decades later, his grandson, now a young collector, took that same penny to a coin show, and walked away with $1,200 in his pocket and tears in his eyes. Grandma always said pennies held more than just cents. He whispered. So why is this coin special? The 1942 wheat penny with no mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a letter mark back then. Now, 1942 pennies were minted in the millions, but some rare variations, due to wartime metal shortages, die errors, or even transitional planchets, are incredibly valuable today. Here's the twist. Some of these 1942 pennies were accidentally struck on leftover bronze planchets or with misaligned dies, creating errors that collectors will pay top dollar for. In pristine condition or with specific rare errors, this penny, the one you might dismiss, could be worth hundreds, sometimes thousands. A woman once told me her father had a box full of wheat pennies. When he passed, she brought it to a local coin shop. They offered her $10 for the whole box. She took it. Inside, a 1942 error penny worth over $900. Don't let a piece of history, or your inheritance, slip through your fingers. Here's how to know if your penny might be worth a fortune. No mint mark below the date, means it was minted in Philadelphia. Flip the coin, look for doubling on liberty or in God we trust. Check for odd metal color or weight, could be a bronze or transitional planchet. Look for a smooth, crisp strike. The cleaner the condition, the higher the value. Don't guess, get it graded. Use trusted sources like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. A professional appraisal could mean the difference between $2 and $2,000. That old jar in your kitchen? The one that's been sitting there since your kids were young? It might just hold your future. Coins carry stories, of war, of love, of simpler times. And sometimes, just sometimes, they carry hidden treasure. Subscribe to Timeless Treasures, where we help you find history hiding in plain sight. Don't just spend your past, rediscover it. What if a single penny from your childhood, tucked in a dusty jar, forgotten in a drawer, could be worth over $100,000 today? Yes, you heard me right. 1 cent. From 1944. And if you've got the right one, it could change your life. I'll never forget the day an older gentleman named Frank walked into my shop. He was in his late 70s, denim overalls, hands like leather, and a sparkle in his eyes. Said he'd been cleaning out his father's war chest, a small oak box filled with buttons, photos, a pocket knife, and a few old pennies. One, in particular, caught my eye. It looked ordinary. 1944, Lincoln wheat cent. But then I flipped it over and realized what he had. Frank had been carrying a small fortune in his pocket for nearly 40 years, not knowing it. He just about dropped his coffee when I told him. So, what made Frank's coin so special? It was a 1944 steel wheat penny. Here's the catch. In 1943, due to wartime copper shortages, the U.S. Mint made pennies out of steel coated with zinc. In 1944, they switched back to copper, but a few steel planchets from 1943 slipped through the cracks. Only a handful of these 1944 steel cents were ever made. Some estimate fewer than 30 exist today. And they're some of the most sought-after error coins in American history. Even more mysterious? They were minted accidentally, and no one knows how many may still be hiding out there. Now here's the part that haunts me. I once heard from a woman named Clara who gave away a coin just like this at a garage sale. She sold a whole jar of old pennies for $5. She later realized, after watching a documentary, that she might have had the one. That penny could have paid for her grandson's college. Gone, just like that. Don't let that be your story. Here's how you might spot one of these valuable treasures. Date must be 1944, but don't get fooled by fakes. No copper shine, it should be silver gray in color. Check the mint mark. They exist from all three mints: No mark, Philadelphia; D, Denver; and S, San Francisco. Use a magnet. Regular 1944 pennies are copper and not magnetic. If it sticks, you might be onto something. Flip it, look for strong details. Fakes are often too soft or wrong in color. What if a single penny from 1946, the year your father came home from the war, could be worth thousands today? That tiny copper coin you tossed in a drawer or slipped into your piggy bank as a child might just be one of the rarest pieces of American history hiding in plain sight. Let me tell you a true story, one that still gives me chills. In a dusty Kansas farmhouse, a woman cleaning out her late father's belongings stumbled upon an old mason jar, filled with coins. Nothing special, she thought, just wheat pennies and silver dimes. But tucked among them was a single 1946 penny, with something odd about it. A tiny mark below the date that didn't quite look right. She almost spent it. Almost, but something stopped her, a memory of her dad saying, "One day, these'll be worth more than you think." That penny sold later at auction, for over $2,000. So, what made that 1946 penny so special? It wasn't just the year, it was the mint mark. You see, in 1946, America was getting back on its feet. The war was over, and the U.S. Mint resumed normal operations. But a few rare anomalies slipped through. Here's what collectors like me know: most 1946 wheat pennies were minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark, or Denver, marked D, but a tiny handful came out of San Francisco, with an S mint mark, and even rarer, some had minting errors, double dies, off-center strikes, or weak impressions. These coins weren't meant to be valuable, they were meant to be forgotten. But now, they're treasures. A man in Ohio once told me he gave away a coffee can of old coins to a neighbor kid. Just play money, he said. 2 months later, that same neighbor posted online, found a rare 1946 S penny, just had it graded. It's real. That man? He couldn't sleep for a week. Sometimes the smallest things we give away are the ones we miss the most. Date must be 1946. Look just under the date. You want to see a small S or D mint mark? Flip the coin. Look for doubling in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." Check the edges. Off-center strikes or a faded rim can mean big value. Look closely at Lincoln's profile. Weak or ghostly impressions could be signs of error coins. Don't trust just your eyes. If you think you have something, get it verified by professionals. PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service; NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. Or bring it to a reputable coin dealer, not just any pawn shop. What if a single penny from your childhood, yes, just one, could be worth hundreds of dollars today? Or more? And what if it's been sitting in a dusty jar in your garage for decades, completely forgotten? Let me take you back to 1963. A widowed father in Nebraska was cleaning out his late wife's dresser when he stumbled upon an old coffee tin filled with coins she'd saved for luck. He almost poured them into the Coinstar bin, but something stopped him. One small, dull brown penny caught his eye, 1950. With a tiny D beneath the date. He pocketed it, thinking nothing of it, until years later, after reading a coin article at the barber shop, he realized what he had. That one penny helped pay for his grandson's college tuition. A single cent, with a story, a past, and a purpose. So, what makes the 1950 D Wheat Penny special? Let's break it down simply. The D means it was minted in Denver. While not the rarest penny ever made, what makes this one interesting is its low mintage compared to other years, high demand from collectors, and its increasing scarcity in pristine condition. In uncirculated, mint state, this penny can fetch over $200, sometimes more, depending on its grade, and sentimental value. That can be priceless. This isn't about errors or misprints, it's about a coin that quietly slipped away from most people's pockets, into the hands of the lucky few who noticed. Now here's the painful part. I once met a woman at a coin show, 82 years old. She told me how her late husband had a collection he never got around to checking. After he passed, she gave it all to a neighbor's kid who liked old stuff. 2 years later, that same neighbor sold a 1950 D penny in near mint condition for nearly $1,000. Sometimes, we don't know what we have, until it's too late. Want to check if you have one of these sleeping treasures? Here's what to look for. Date must be 1950. Look for a small D mint mark just below the date, not S or no letter. Wheat reverse design, 2 stalks curving along the sides, not the Lincoln Memorial. The shinier and cleaner, the better. Condition is everything. If you find one, don't guess, get it verified, send it to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, or visit a reputable coin dealer. A few bucks spent today could unlock the true value tomorrow. What if a single penny from your childhood, one you held in your tiny hands while buying bubblegum, could be worth hundreds, or even thousands, today? You might have walked right past a small fortune and never even known it. Until now, let me take you back to 1951. The war was over, the world was healing, and America was humming with promise. A young boy named Charlie in Indiana used to collect pennies with his father every Sunday afternoon. One day, Charlie found a shiny, copper wheat penny, no mint mark, just the date, 1951. He tossed it into a mason jar and forgot about it for decades. Fast forward nearly 70 years, Charlie's granddaughter is cleaning out the attic. She finds the jar, brings it to a local coin shop for fun, and the dealer goes pale. That little penny, it turned out to be one of the rarest and most sought-after strikes of its kind. Now here's the truth, most 1951 wheat pennies aren't rare, unless they lack a mint mark and have certain striking errors. The no mint mark means it was minted in Philadelphia, where many coins were made. But here's where it gets interesting. Some of these coins were accidentally double die struck, giving the date and lettering a slight doubling effect. Others had off-center strikes or were created on leftover copper planchets, making them far more valuable, even without an error. A 1951 penny in uncirculated or proof condition with no mint mark can fetch $500 or more, and certain error versions, well over $2,000. I once met a gentleman at a collector's fair who told me his grandkids used his old coin jar to buy candy from a corner store. Among those pennies, he later realized, a rare 1951 wheat penny with a double die error, sold for change, never to be seen again. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "I gave away the memory of my father for 25 cents. Don't let that happen to you." Date must be 1951, no mint mark below the date, meaning Philadelphia Mint. Look closely at Liberty and the date for doubling. Check if the coin looks off-center or has misaligned lettering. Uncirculated condition equals far more valuable. Use a magnifying glass and a soft light to examine the details. If you think you have one, don't clean it. That can lower the value. Send it to a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. Or visit a local coin dealer certified by the American Numismatic Association. What if the penny you earned for mowing your neighbor's lawn in 1951 could be worth hundreds today? Or better yet, what if one small coin, forgotten in an old coffee can in your garage, held a hidden story and a hidden fortune? Back in the dusty summer of 1973, a retired railroad worker named Harold from Pueblo, Colorado was sorting through a jar of change his wife had saved since the 1950s. Just routine, or so he thought. One coin caught his eye. It was worn, dark with age, but something about it felt different. A 1951 penny with a tiny D under the date. He almost tossed it aside. But something told him to hang on. Fast forward 2 decades later, that same coin was appraised for over $3,000, thanks to a rare die error and a low mintage batch from the Denver Mint. Harold? He kept it. Framed it, actually. Said it reminded him of simpler times, and of how small things often hold the biggest stories. The 1951 Wheat Penny might look like just another old coin, but certain versions of it are worth far more than 1 cent. Here's why. It was minted in Denver, marked with a small d beneath the date. Over 625 million were produced, yes, but not all were made equal. Some coins have die errors, like double dies or repunched mint marks, and those errors, in high-grade condition, can fetch hundreds to thousands of dollars. Even a regular 1951 penny in pristine MS-67 red condition has sold for nearly $7,000 at auction. I once met a woman at a coin show, Eleanor, in her 80s, who said her grandson used to play with old coins as toy money. One was a 1951 Wheat Penny with a strange doubling on the date. She didn't think much of it and let him spend them at a gas station for candy. That very coin, if it was what she remembers, could have paid for a full semester of college today. Time doesn't wait. And neither do opportunities like these. Here's how to check if your 1951 Wheat Penny is special: double date or letters off center strikes. Flip the coin. Wheat stalks should be sharp on the back. That's why they're called wheat pennies. Don't trust just your eyes. If you think you found something rare, send it to PCGS or NGC, the top coin grading services. Or take it to a reputable coin dealer in your area, especially one certified by ANA, American Numismatic Association. What if a single penny from your childhood, a coin you once flicked across a wooden floor, could now be worth hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars? Yes, I'm talking about a simple, copper wheat penny from 1952, with a tiny D under the date, and a mystery that's left collectors buzzing for decades. Let me tell you a story. Back in 1978, a man named Harold from Pueblo, Colorado, a retired railroad worker, was rolling up loose change he and his wife had been saving in a mason jar since their wedding in 1951. As he sorted the pennies, his granddaughter picked one up and said, "This one looks old." It was a 1952 Wheat Penny. Smooth edges, Lincoln's proud profile, and that unmistakable wheat stalk design on the back. Harold chuckled and said, "That penny probably rode the rails with me." Years later, after Harold had passed, the family learned that same penny could have been worth hundreds due to a rare die error. But by then, it was long gone, likely spent on a soda pop or a movie ticket decades earlier. So what makes the 1952 Wheat Penny special? Here's the truth: most 1952 pennies were minted in Denver and are common. But some, a very few, have striking anomalies. A double die obverse, that means Lincoln's features or the date are slightly doubled, weak strikes or off-center errors, and in extremely fine condition, known as mint state red, they can fetch $100, $500, sometimes more. What makes them valuable isn't just age, it's rarity, condition, and quirks from the minting process. Like fingerprints from history. I met a gentleman at a flea market in Tulsa who told me, "I used to give those away to my grandkids to use in vending machines." He once had a full roll, of uncirculated 1952 Wheat pennies. Never thought twice. They're likely scattered in parking lots, junk drawers, or melted down. Don't let that be your story. We've all let something precious slip through our fingers. But now, you know better. Date must be 1952. Look for the D mint mark just under the date. That stands for Denver. Check for errors, doubled features, especially in the date, or the word Liberty, off-center strikes, or oddly thin lettering. Condition matters. Shiny, reddish copper color is worth more than dull brown. Got one that looks promising? Send it to a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate and grade the coin for you. Or visit a local coin shop with a good reputation. Never trust online offers unless you know the source. Look, that old jar of coins in your kitchen? It might not just be spare change. It might be your legacy, hiding in plain sight. So before you toss that penny aside, take a second look. What if a single penny sitting in your attic right now could be worth hundreds, even thousands, of dollars? Yes, I'm talking about a humble 1952 Wheat Penny, with a little D mint mark, but here's the kicker, most people spend it without ever realizing what they had. Let me tell you a story about an old man named Walter from Pueblo, Colorado. That he kept a small coffee can of coins in his garage, untouched since the 60s. After his passing, his granddaughter nearly tossed the can, thinking it was junk, but as she sifted through it one rainy afternoon, one coin caught her eye, a 1952 penny, darker than the rest. Just out of curiosity, she looked it up. That coin ended up selling for over $3,000 at auction. Why? Because it was a rare 1952 wheat penny, with a flaw no one had noticed for decades. Now, let's get to the heart of it. The 1952 wheat penny was struck in Denver. That's what the D stands for. Most are common, but a small number were minted with errors or in near-perfect condition, making them extremely valuable. What makes it special? Some had double die errors, meaning the image was stamped twice, visible especially on the date or lettering. Others were struck on foreign planchets, leftover metal blanks from other coins, and a tiny few were preserved in mint state condition, never circulated, never touched by human hands. These can fetch $500 to $5,000, depending on rarity and condition. Now here's the painful part. I knew a fellow collector named Earl. One day at a flea market, he spotted a 1952 penny in a 10-cent box. He hesitated. Probably nothing, he muttered, and walked away. Later that same coin, bought by someone else, was verified to be a rare double die. It sold $4,750. Earl still talks about that moment with a heavy heart. Don't let that be your story. Date must be 1952. Look for a D mint mark just below the date, means it was struck in Denver. Check for doubling on the date or words like Liberty or In God We Trust. Flip the coin, inspect the wheat stalks on the back. Are they sharp and detailed? That could be a mint state coin. Unusual weight or color? Might be a foreign planchet error. If you think you've got something, don't guess. Get it authenticated. What if a single penny from your childhood, something you once spent on a piece of bubble gum, could be worth thousands today? You might be thinking, that's impossible. But let me tell you, the right penny, with the right story behind it, can change everything. Back in the 1960s, a man named Harold was clearing out his late father's workshop in Denver. Dusty coffee cans filled with old screws, rusty bolts, and a jar of pennies. Harold almost tossed the jar out, but something stopped him. Among those pennies was a humble 1953 wheat penny. It looked ordinary, a little worn, faint luster, nothing remarkable. But Harold's father had been a die maker at the Denver Mint. That coin had never been spent. It was different. Years later, when Harold brought it to a coin show, jaws dropped. Turns out, it had a rare die error, a double die reverse, and sold for thousands. What looked like spare change became life-changing. The 1953 wheat penny isn't always valuable, but some are worth a fortune. Here's why. Minted in Denver, the coin should have a small d beneath the date. In rare cases, due to die errors or misalignments, the coin displays doubling on the reverse lettering, especially e pluribus unum, weak strikes or odd rims caused by worn dies. An extremely rare coin struck on a foreign planchet, meaning the wrong type of metal. Most people wouldn't notice, unless they knew exactly what to look for. I met a woman at a flea market once. She told me her husband had a coin collection when they were first married. When money got tight in the 70s, she used those pennies to buy milk and bread. They were just pennies, she said, chuckling, but I stopped her. Did any have a 1953 D on them? Her eyes welled up. Yes. A whole roll. That roll today could have been worth tens of thousands. Lost to time. And groceries. If you've got a jar of old coins tucked away, here's what to look for. Look for the D mint mark just below the date, Denver Mint. Flip it, check the back for signs of doubling on the words. Listen for weight. If it feels off, it might be a foreign planchet. Check the edges. A misaligned die can leave a shadow rim. What if a single penny from 1954, the same year Elvis cut his first record, could be worth hundreds, even thousands, today? That's right. A simple copper coin you may have walked past 1,000 times could be your forgotten fortune. Let me take you back that it's 1987. A widowed grandfather in Colorado is sorting through a dusty cigar box, the kind we all remember, tucked away in a dresser drawer. Inside are memories, army patches, black and white photos, and a small pile of wheat pennies that he gives them to his grandson, saying, "These are from my time. Worth keeping." Years later, the grandson nearly trades one of them at a flea market, until a collector stops him mid-sale. "Wait," he says. "That one. 1954, Denver Mint. You don't see many like that." Turns out, he'd nearly let go of a rare coin worth a small fortune. So what's the big deal with the 1954 wheat penny? Here's what makes this little coin so special. In 1954, the Denver Mint produced millions of wheat pennies, but some were struck with unusual errors, die clashes, off-center strikes, and even double dies, where the coin appears slightly doubled in the lettering, slipped into circulation. And here's the kicker, a small batch of 1954 pennies were struck with misaligned dies, making them collector gold. Add to that the nostalgia of the Wheat Penny series, which ended in 1958, and you've got a coin that isn't just rare, it feels like history in your hand. But here's the part that stings, people spend these without ever knowing. Just last year, a woman in Missouri used one to buy a gumball for her grandson, not realizing the very coin could have fetched $1,500 at auction. That's the thing about these coins, they hide in plain sight that we ignore them. We give them away, and sometimes, we only realize their worth when it's too late. So, what should you look for? Grab that old jar, that dusty coffee tin in the attic, and check for uneven edges or off-center design letters that look doubled, especially in Liberty or In God We Trust, any signs of cracks, clashes, or strange lines. These tiny errors, they're worth big money. Think you've got one? Don't guess. Get it verified. You can send it to trusted grading services like PCGS or NGC, or visit a local certified coin dealer. Never clean it, just store it safely, and let the experts do the rest. Sometimes, the most valuable treasures aren't buried in the ground, they're tucked in a jar, resting quietly in the corner of your life. That old penny? It might just be your key to a new chapter. Subscribe to Timeless Treasures, where history hides in plain sight, and every coin tells a story, because what you hold in your hand might just be priceless. What if a single penny from your childhood, just one, could be worth over $1,500 today? And what if you already spent it at the corner store for a stick of gum? Back in 1963, a boy named Charlie was helping his grandpa roll pennies into paper tubes. Just a weekend ritual, nothing special. But in one of those rolls, there it was. A 1955 wheat penny, with no mint mark, and something else unusual, the date and letters looked doubled, almost like a shadow. Grandpa chuckled, "It's probably just worn down," and they tossed it into the pile with the rest. That coin would one day be worth a small fortune. But by then, it was long gone, spent at a gas station vending machine, and just like that, history disappeared into a soda bottle. This isn't just any penny. The 1955 no mint mark double die obverse wheat penny is one of the most famous error coins in American history. In 1955, at the Philadelphia Mint, a misalignment during the minting process caused the coin's front design, the date and lettering, to be struck twice, slightly off-center. The result? A bold, visible doubling of 1955, Liberty, and In God We Trust. Only about 20,000 to 24,000 of these error coins escaped into circulation, out of millions minted. Most were grabbed up quickly by collectors, but a few are still out there, hiding in jars, drawers, and attic boxes. Over the years, countless people spent this penny, never knowing what they held. One man in Ohio reportedly used his 1955 double die to buy a newspaper, in 1984. That same coin, had he kept it, would now pay for a cruise around the world. You don't want to be that story. Not this time. Check your collection for these features. The date 1955 looks doubled. The word Liberty shows shadowing or a double image. In God We Trust is visibly doubled. If it looks blurry, not bold, it's probably not the rare one, but don't throw it away just yet. To know for sure, don't guess, send the coin to trusted graders like PCGS or NGC. Or visit a reputable coin dealer, especially one familiar with wheat pennies and US errors. A small investment in verification could reveal a small fortune. Maybe your parents' change jar is still in the back of a closet. Maybe you've had a dusty cigar box in the attic since the 70s. That little penny, the one you nearly overlooked, might just be a ticket back in time, and a blessing for the future. Don't let history slip through your fingers. What if a single penny from your childhood, the kind you flicked into a wishing well or found between couch cushions, could be worth over $10,000 today? Stick with me, because today we're talking about a coin so mysterious, so rare, that it slipped right through the fingers of millions, the 1955 Wheat Penny. And someone you know might have had one, without ever knowing it. Back in the fall of 1967, a retired railroad worker named Harold Sutton sat at his kitchen table in Denver, sorting through a rusty tin of old coins he'd collected over the decades. Most were ordinary, pocket change from his daily lunch breaks. But one caught his eye, a 1955 penny with the tiny letter D beneath the date. Something about it just felt different. Years later, long after Harold passed, his granddaughter found that same penny tucked in a worn tobacco tin marked Lucky Ones. She brought it to a coin show on a whim. The appraiser nearly dropped his loupe. Now let's get to the heart of it. What makes the 1955 Wheat Penny so special? While the 1955 Philadelphia Double Die Penny is more famous, the 1955 D from the Denver Mint has its own secret: low population of mint state versions and, in rare cases, subtle errors like off-centering, weak strikes, or die breaks that boost value dramatically. Most 1955 D pennies are common. But if yours is uncirculated, has original red color, or includes mint errors like die chips or repunched mint marks, it could be worth thousands. Collectors will pay big for high-grade versions. Some sold for over $10,000 at auction. A man once paid for a soda at a 7-Eleven in 1994 using what turned out to be a near-pristine 1955 Wheat Penny. The clerk gave it as change to a customer, who dropped it in a parking lot. Years later, that very coin, traced back by serial slab number, surfaced in a coin show. Graded MS67 red. Sold $4.14 100. So many coins, casually tossed in jars, traded for bubble gum, or worse, lost forever. What might you have let slip through your fingers? Here's how you can check your own collection. Date must be 1955. Look for the D mint mark just under the date. For Denver, color matters. Red or red-brown coins hold highest value. Examine for errors. Repunched mint marks, die cracks, off-center strikes. Never clean it. Original patina adds value. To know for sure, submit your coin to PCGS or NGC, the top coin grading services. Or bring it to a certified coin dealer in your area. Don't guess, have it professionally graded and authenticated. What if that little penny you tucked away decades ago could be worth thousands today? What if the coin jingling in your pocket back in 1956, during Eisenhower's presidency, when gas was 23 cents a gallon, was actually hiding a secret fortune? Let me take you back to a quiet farmhouse in rural Ohio. A man named Walter, a Korean War veteran, now retired, was sorting through an old cigar box filled with wheat pennies he'd collected as a boy. Each coin was a memory. Flipping them brought back summer days at the drugstore, soda pops, and trading baseball cards on the porch. Then he saw it. A simple 1956 Wheat Penny. No mint mark. Worn, yes, but something about it felt different. He took it to a local coin dealer just to be sure. That penny sold at auction for over $2,000. Because it wasn't just a penny. It was one of the rarest no mint mark 1956 wheat pennies ever discovered, hiding in plain sight. Now, here's the truth behind that coin. Most 1956 Lincoln wheat pennies were struck at the Denver Mint and carry a D mark, but some, like Walter's, were made in Philadelphia, which didn't use a mint mark at the time. That's not all. Some of these 1956 pennies were struck with rare doubling errors, especially on the date and lettering. Others have off-center strikes or misaligned dies, and in pristine uncirculated condition, they can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars. It's not just the coin's condition, it's the story, the rarity, and the chance that lightning might strike in your very own coin jar. Let me tell you about Clara. She was cleaning out her late husband's desk when she found a stash of wheat pennies. She gave them to a neighbor's kid for his collection, just happy they'd be appreciated. A month later, that boy's father took one of those pennies to a coin show, and walked away with a check for $3,200. Clara had no idea. She didn't even look. Don't let that be you. So here's what to check in your own collection. Date must be 1956. No mint mark below the date. Philadelphia issue. Look closely for doubling on Liberty or the date. Check the edges. Is it off-center or unusually thick? Flip it over. Wheat stalks should be crisp, not blurred, to confirm if your coin is truly valuable. Don't guess. Send it to PCGS or NGC, two of the most trusted coin grading services in the world. Or visit a certified coin dealer in your area. Many offer free evaluations. Bring a magnifying glass and your curiosity. What if a single penny from 1956, one that may have jingled in your dad's pocket or rolled beneath your childhood bed, could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars today? That's right. A humble wheat penny, the kind you might have tossed in a jar without a second thought, could be one of the rarest treasures hiding in your home. A few years back, an older gentleman named Harold from Kansas was sorting through his late wife's keepsake box. Tucked inside a rusted Altoids tin were a handful of wheat pennies, relics from their early days of marriage. Among them, a worn 1956 penny with a tiny D under the date. Nothing flashy, until a coin appraiser took one look and gasped. That penny, it turned out, had a rare error, and its value? Enough to take his grandchildren on the cross-country road trip he and his wife had always dreamed of. That one coin turned memory into legacy. So what's the secret behind the 1956 D wheat penny? It's not just the date or the D mint mark, which stands for Denver. It's what might have gone wrong at the mint that year. There are known errors and varieties, including double dies, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes, that make specific 1956 D wheat pennies incredibly valuable to collectors. While most are worth a few cents, certain error varieties have sold for hundreds, even over $1,000, depending on condition and rarity. That's right. A penny you've walked past could be worth more than your childhood car. I once met a woman at a coin show in Ohio. She told me her father had a shoebox full of wheat pennies from the 50s and 60s. When he passed, they took it to a bank and cashed it all in, face value. Years later, she learned that some 1956 D-era pennies were among the rarest of the bunch. Her voice cracked when she said, "We never even looked, just thought they were junk." Don't let that be your story. Here's how to spot a potentially valuable 1956 D wheat penny. Date must be 1956. Look for a D under the date. It must have the Denver mint mark. Check closely for doubling, especially in the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Flip the coin. Look at the wheat stalks on the back. Strong, detailed lines equals better value. Repunched mint marks, RPMs, look like a blurry or doubled D. Those are often rare. If you think you have one, don't clean it. That can ruin the value. Instead, take it to a reputable coin dealer, or submit it to PCGS or NGC for professional grading. A good magnifying glass or USB microscope can also help you spot the fine details. What if a single penny from your childhood could pay for a vacation today, or even spark a bidding war? That's right. One tiny coin, sitting unnoticed in a dusty jar or nestled in your granddad's drawer, might be worth far more than 1 cent, if you know what to look for. A retired postman named Harold was cleaning out his late wife's sewing room in Ohio. He opened a rusted cookie tin filled with old buttons, spools of thread, and a handful of pennies. One of them looked different, shinier, yet older. The date read 1957, and there was no mint mark under the date. Harold, a lifelong coin collector, felt a chill. He had heard whispers at coin shows that some 1957 wheat pennies had quirks, errors, secrets. So he sent it off to be graded. What came back changed everything: an extremely rare, uncirculated 1957 no mint mark wheat penny with a double die error. That penny, once buried under buttons, sold for over $3,000. Now, here's the truth: not all 1957 no mint mark wheat pennies are worth thousands, but some can be, especially those with minting errors or in pristine condition. Here's what makes these coins so fascinating. No mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia. The oldest U.S. mint point 1957 was one of the final years for the wheat penny design. They stopped minting wheat backs in 1958. A small number of these coins show double die obverse. Slight doubling in the Liberty or the date. Coins in uncirculated or near mint condition can be worth far more than face value. It's the kind of coin that hides in plain sight, common enough to overlook, rare enough to matter. Just last year, a woman in Kansas spent a 1957 wheat penny at a gas station. It was a double die variety, later found by a cashier and sold at auction for over $1, 200.1 second of not looking, and it was gone. Imagine that. A little bit of your family's past, just given away. Wheat ears on the back, not the Lincoln Memorial. Look closely at Liberty and the date. Any doubling? Sharp edges, little wear. The better the condition, the better the value. If you think you've got a winner, don't clean it, that can ruin the value. Instead, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, or take it to a trusted local coin dealer for an expert look. So the next time you pass that old mason jar on the shelf, stop, take a moment. Look closely. Because that little penny from your childhood? It might just hold your future. What if I told you there's a single penny, yes, just one, that could be worth hundreds, maybe even thousands, and it might be sitting forgotten in your kitchen drawer right now? That's not a fantasy. It's the story of the 1957 wheat penny, a tiny copper coin with a legacy far bigger than its face value. Back in the early 1980s, an older gentleman named Harold, a retired postman from Des Moines, stumbled upon an old coffee tin while helping his grandson build a coin collection. Inside were dozens of wheat pennies, stashed away during his working years. Most were common, but one glinted differently under the light. A 1957 he almost tossed it into the keep for fun pile, but something told him to check it more closely. It turned out to be a rare double die error. That coin, which he'd unknowingly carried in his pocket for decades, later sold for over $3,000. Sometimes, the past whispers through the smallest things. If we're willing to listen. Now, let's talk truth. The 1957 wheat penny by itself isn't always rare. Over 1 billion were minted in Denver. But what makes some of them incredibly valuable are errors and unique traits that slipped past inspectors during production. Where the lettering or date appears blurred or doubled, where the D was stamped more than once, slightly off position, off-center designs, die cracks, or missing elements, these are accidental masterpieces, and collectors prize them. A woman wrote to me last year. She remembered her father saving wheat pennies in a jar. After he passed, she donated them all to a school fundraiser without looking. Months later, a coin dealer told her that a 1957 with a rare repunch error from the same year had just sold for nearly $6,000. She was heartbroken. Not for the money, but for losing a small piece of her father's life, one he had held on to, maybe just for her. If you're digging through an old coin jar, here's exactly what to check for. Look for doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," Liberty, or the date. Examine the mint mark. Is it stamped twice or looks shadowed? Flip it. The wheat stalks on the back should be clean and well-defined. Look for cracks, off-center designs, or anything that looks odd. Think you found something special? Don't guess, get it verified. Contact reputable graders like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. Local coin dealers can help too, just make sure they're certified and trustworthy. What if a single penny, yes, just one, from your childhood could be worth over $100,000 today? And chances are, you might have already spent it without even knowing. Let me take you back to 1986. A retired World War II veteran named Harold was cleaning out his late wife's sewing cabinet. Inside a rusted old candy tin, he found a handful of wheat pennies, the kind you and I used to fish out of our pockets before bubblegum cost $1. Harold thought nothing of it, until one penny, dull, scratched, but dated 1958, caught his eye. No mint mark. It looked ordinary. But when he took it to a local coin shop, the owner's eyes widened. That penny, was one of the rarest errors in American coinage history. Here's the truth. The 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny is no ordinary coin. 1958 was the last year the U.S. minted wheat pennies before switching to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. Most 1958 pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and should have a clean, simple obverse, but here's the kicker. Only a tiny handful of 1958 pennies were mistakenly struck with a double die error, meaning the date and lettering on the front are doubled. This wasn't caught in time, and just a few escaped into circulation. Experts believe fewer than 3 dozen exist today, and collectors have paid over $100,000 for a well-preserved one. In the early 2000s, a woman from Ohio unknowingly spent one at a gas station. She remembered it looked funny, but thought it was just worn out. That coin could have paid for her grandchildren's college tuition. It hurts to think how many of these treasures slipped through our fingers, tucked into piggy banks, or worse, tossed in those take a penny, leave a penny trays. Here's what you need to look for if you think you might have a valuable 1958 wheat penny. Date must be 1958, no mint mark under the date, just clean 1958, no D or S doubling. Look closely at Liberty and In God We Trust. If the letters look doubled, like a shadow behind them, pay attention. Use a magnifying glass or even your phone camera to zoom in. It's subtle, but it's there. Back of the coin, 1 cent and United States of America should be clear. Any odd spacing or doubling? Even better. If you suspect you found one, don't clean it. That could ruin its value. Instead, send it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. You can also visit a certified coin dealer. Just be sure they're part of the American Numismatic Association. What if a single penny from your childhood, the kind you traded for bubblegum or flipped into a wishing fountain, could now be worth over $100,000? Yes, you heard that right. One tiny copper coin from 1958, with a mysterious twist, could change everything. Let me take you back to a dusty old farmhouse in Nebraska. A retired schoolteacher named Helen was going through her late husband's belongings, a man who'd saved every penny, literally. At the bottom of a rusted coffee can, buried beneath nails, buttons, and memories, she found a small coin, a 1958 penny. It looked ordinary, worn from time, but something felt different. A few months later, after a casual visit to a coin show with her grandson, Helen learned that her ordinary penny had a secret. That unassuming coin was worth a small fortune. She wept. Not because of the money, but because it was a piece of her past, now speaking to her future. So what makes the 1958 wheat penny so rare? In 1958, the U.S. Mint was transitioning from the wheat reverse design to the Lincoln Memorial design. The last wheat pennies were struck that year. Most were stamped in Philadelphia, but the ones with a D mint mark, meaning they came from Denver, were supposed to be standard. However, a very small number of these 1958 coins have something astonishing. They were misprinted with double dies on the front, where Liberty, the date, and In God We Trust appear doubled, like a ghost echo. Only a handful have ever been found. Some experts estimate fewer than 5 verified examples exist today. Many people spent them without knowing. Some gave them away to grandchildren, slid them into church offering plates, or let them sit unnoticed in sock drawers for decades. One story tells of a collector who passed up a full jar of pennies at a garage sale, later realizing it had the exact coin he'd been hunting for his entire life. Missed opportunities like that? They don't just hurt your wallet, they haunt your heart. Think you might have one? Here's what to check. Look for a small D mint mark under the year. For Denver, examine the front of the coin closely. Look at the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Check for clear doubling. The letters will look slightly shadowed or repeated. If you suspect you've got the real deal, don't clean it or tamper with it. Send it to a trusted grader like PCGS or NGC. They'll professionally authenticate and grade your coin. You can also take it to a reputable coin dealer. Just be cautious and do your research. Think about it. That jar in your pantry, the box in your attic, the drawer you haven't opened in years. It's not just full of pennies, it's full of stories. Your history, your memories, might just be holding something priceless. Subscribe to Timeless Treasures, where every coin has a story, and sometimes, that story can change your life.